The topic for tonight is showing compassion or just compassion. And compassion, of course, is, as far as I'm concerned, the main part of Jesus' teachings. So I'm going to start with just a couple of things about Jesus' teachings. Jesus' gospel is pure action based on love, faith, peace, justice, kindness, meekness, patience, and compassion. Jesus' teachings are not based on calculated wisdom and complicated, controversial interpretations of Scripture. His gospel is a simple, direct faith in the power of love, compassion, and meekness. So we start with a definition, basic definition. Compassion is a deep awareness of another person's suffering combined with an urgent, actionable desire to alleviate it. More than just feeling sympathy, pity, or empathy, sharing feelings, true compassion implies taking steps to help relieve pain. Showing compassion means recognizing another person's suffering or difficulties and feeling a strong, actionable desire to alleviate it. It goes beyond empathy, which is feeling what others feel, by adding action, kindness, and genuine care to improve their situation. Compassion involves being patient, non judgmental, and supporting others. So I thought what we would do, I'm going to look at some scriptures involving compassion and just follow through with them and provide hopefully some understanding about compassion. Okay, we're going to start with one that we all know, but we might look at it slightly different tonight. The parable of the Good Samaritan, Luke 10:25 to 29.
And behold, the scribe stood up to test him, and he said, Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? Jesus said to him, What is written in the law? And how do you read it? He answered, saying to him, You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. Jesus said to him, You spoke the truth. Do this, and you shall live. But as he wanted to justify himself, he said to him, And who is my neighbor? Jesus said to him, There was a man who went down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and bandits attacked him, and robbed him, and beat him, and left him with little life remaining in him. And they went away. And it chanced a priest was going down that road, and he saw him and passed on. And likewise a Levite came and arrived at that place, and saw him and passed on. But a Samaritan, as he journeyed, came where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion on him. And he came to him and bound up his wounds and poured on them wine and oil. He put him on his own ass and brought him to the inn and took care of him. And in the morning, he took out 2 pennies and gave them to the innkeeper and said to him, take care of him, and whatever you spend more, when I return, I will give it to you. Who therefore of these three, as it appears to you, became neighbor to him who fell into the hands of the bandits? He said, the one who had compassion on him. Jesus said to him, you go also and do likewise.
Okay. Again, we know there's there's um many things about this parable. But the one we want to focus on tonight is, why did the Samaritan stop when the priest and the Levite did not? Okay, well, basically, um, the priest and the Levite were following the law, so to speak. And the law said that they could not touch anything that might be bloody, and they could not touch a dead body, except for those, of course, in when they're upon death, they had special people. But okay, and so they were following the law, and essentially they had no idea that they would have been doing something wrong, because compassion just wasn't part of the law. And of course, that's what Jesus was trying to tell them, and that he was fulfilling the law. They needed to put compassion, love into into their law and their lives. So, but the other thing to understand is that the Samaritan, okay, the Samaritans had broken off from the Jewish religion, but they did not, and they did use the Torah, but they did not use the Mosaic law. So they were not, their innate uh, sense of compassion was still there. And it just noticed the Samaritan didn't, I mean, it was just something that you do, the compassion. And so, so that's from this parable. That's that's what we gain concerning compassion. And of course, Jesus said to the person, yes, the one who showed compassion, that's what I'm talking about. Okay. Now, another some other scriptures which also contain some other um, differences in interpretation and whatnot from Aramaic. And so we're going to look at Luke 13, 10 through 17, in the
There was
Lambda
there
version and KJV.
there was there a woman who had been afflicted with rheumatism for 18 years and was bent down and could never straighten herself at all. Jesus saw her and called her and said to her, woman, you are cursed. Correction. Let me start over on that. Take that over. There was there a woman who had been afflicted with rheumatism for 18 years and was bent down and could never straighten herself at all. Jesus saw her and called her and said to her, woman, you are cured of your sickness. And he laid his hand on her and immediately she straightened up and praised God. And
And
he
the
was te-
KJV?
and he was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath. And behold, there was a woman which had a spirit of infirmity 18 years, and was bowed together, and could in no wise lift up herself, while Jesus was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath.
Oh, okay. Missed that. And we're going to go ahead and read the NRSV. Um, Go ahead.
And just then there appeared a woman with a spirit that had crippled her for 18 years. She was bent over and was quite unable to stand up straight.
Okay, so um, if you the NRSV says a spirit had crippled her, um, and the KJV said a spirit of infirmity. All right, but but Lobsa says the woman had been afflicted with rheumatism. So how does that happen that the two modern versions, KJV and NSRV, still talk about spirit? Well, it's because they don't understand Aramaic. And in Aramaic, we have the word ruha, which means spirit, but also has many, many meanings. And these are just four of them. Spirit, it does mean spirit, yes. Wind, breath, and rheumatism. And this is where Dr. Lanza comes in, because he knew the context of this story from Aramaic, and he knew, because he lived it and spoke Aramaic, that the appropriate word here should have been rheumatism. And it makes more sense, doesn't it? And the other thing, you'll notice that Jesus, you notice that here, Jesus, the woman didn't petition him. Jesus noticed this woman, knew, I mean, Jesus knew, that she had been ill, and he went to her, he showed compassion, and he cured her. Okay. And now we get to uh, one of the Beatitudes that we all know. Um, but let's go ahead and read it. Matthew 5:7.
Blessed are the merciful, for they shall have mercy.
All right. Now you notice that I have put compassion there because um, um, the word merciful, compassionate, it's the same word, different meanings. Okay. Now, and the part of it that's kind of focuses on here is that if you're compassionate, compassion, you will have compassion on you. People will show you compassion. And so Jesus was aware of universal law. He knew that those who were kind, charitable, and compassionate would in turn receive kindness, charity, and compassion. For those who give, it will be given to them. To those who open their doors to strangers, doors will be opened to them. And one thing to remember here is the people of the ancient Near East and even the Near East today have a tradition, it's not a written law, that they will take people into their homes, even strangers. And it's hospitality and it is a tradition kind of thing. So, um, and I guess tradition had it for them that if they open their doors to those, even strangers, then it would come back to them. Others would open their doors to them. All right. And now we come to another Aramaic word, which means compassion, basically. And that word is rachme, or rachma, depending. All right. And that word, again, has many, many meanings. And it can mean to love, delight in, to be kind, to be friendly, kindness, tenderhearted, mercy, compassion. However, once again, we have this difference from Aramaic. Moreover, it refers to certain internal organs of the human body, such as the womb, testicles, and bladder. In the plural form, rachme signifies bowels. All right. Now, I thought we'd have a little fun with this word, and we'll go to a couple of scriptures, and we're doing comparative scriptures again. The first one is a little humorous, I think. The Song of Solomon 5:4.
My beloved put in his hand by the hole of the door, and my bowels were moved for him.
Okay. Now we go to Lamsa.
My beloved put in his hand by the opening of the door, and my heart was moved for him.
And I'd put the NSRV in here just for kicks.
My beloved thrust his hand into the opening, and my inmost being yearned for him.
Okay. Now we'll go to Isaiah 63:15. KJV first here.
Look down from heaven, and behold from the habitation of thy holiness and of thy glory. Where is thy zeal and thy strength, the sounding of thy bowels and of thy mercies toward me? Are they restrained?
And Lamsa.
Look down from heaven and behold thy holy and glorious habitation. Where is thy zeal and thy strength? Turn down, turn thy tender mercies and compassion towards us. Are they restrained?
Okay. And NSRV.
Look down from heaven and see from your holy and glorious habitation. Where are your zeal and your might, the yearning of your heart and your compassion? They are withheld from me.
Okay. Uh, the NSRV has taken balls out, and so their interpretation is pretty good. But the key is that bowels, uh, bowels can mean mercies and compassion, but it's kind of like the other one from the heart. Okay. All right. So that was just something to add in here. And so now we'll do a little bit about self-compassion. And we'll just read these two scriptures, which are very familiar, I think, to all of us. Leviticus 19:18.
You shall not bear any enmity against the children of your own people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord.
Okay. And then uh, Matthew 22:39.
And the second is like to it, love your neighbor as yourself.
Now, I put this in here because many people believe that Jesus is the one that originated this, and of course, it is his two commandments. Um, but I put this in here so that everybody knows love your neighbor as yourself started centuries ago, okay, in the time of Moses. And the only difference was in the time of Moses, um, they were to love their neighbor as themselves, but their neighbor in the time of Moses was just within the Hebrews and their tribes because they were in the desert and there weren't any other people for them to be neighborly with. Okay, so compassion is any and all thoughts, feelings, moods, insights, and actions that serve the interest of actual self. Self compassion involves treating oneself with the same warmth, care, and understanding that one would offer a good friend during times of failure, inadequacy, or suffering. It is defined as a compassionate, non judgmental response to one's own pain rather than harsh self criticism or avoidance. All right, now the self compassion is pretty important, and what I have done, um, you actually these are actually coming directly from a commentary because I guess it can get maybe slightly maybe difficult, but so I put it the way that it's worded in the commentary. So Moses' exhortation to love your neighbor as yourself, repeated by Jesus, of course, does not imply sentimentality. The word carries the connotation of being warm, kindly, amicable. That is, to be well disposed toward. Jesus continually emphasized what his religion had stressed centuries before his time. He affirmed the highest ideals in everyone so that the human family might practice peace and reconciliation. Compassionate love nourishes and encourages the finest in human beings and creates a healthy emotional environment. Without doubt, when any individual knows a deep inner compassion within himself or herself, the practice of compassionate love for others is enhanced. This practice does not just stem from religious regulation for proper human behavior, but becomes from a viable, self-motivated state of grace which benefits one's own being and others. And this next one is pretty important. Um, and we've looked at this a lot. We affirm the biblical claim that humans are the image and likeness of God when we, as individuals, come to know the Rahmah, compassion, that is ours through natural birthright. Genuine compassion and spirituality are nothing more than a human beings behaving humanely. So, what we're saying here is the I don't want to call it ability, but that's all that comes to mind right now. The ability, I mean, to be compassionate and care for others is innate. It's within us. It's naturally within us. Uh, and like the Samaritan, uh, there was no hesitation. There was no questioning about, oh, should I do this, and oh, what does the law say or anything. It was natural, and helping other people is innate within us, um, but it doesn't always. It's not always revealed, and we have a lot of not compassionate people in this world today. So that what they called here, that natural birthright, that innate um, ability, gets covered up by things from the material world, from this world, and in these cases gets covered up by the law. That was religious law, and there's still a whole lot of religious traditions or theology that might step on this ability a lot, including things in this world. So that's I just thought compassion is so important in the world today, and we need more and more of this compassion. So uh, I I thank you for your contributions. And okay, for discussion, I how does it make you feel when you are compassionate toward others? I put this I put this in here, I guess, based some on my experience, um, and the fact that, all right, I know we had this discussion last week about, well, you really have to be able to love yourself, and be compassionate towards yourself before you can love and be kind to others. But I just don't want I just didn't want to get caught up with that, because um, in my mind, um, I feel much better when I have helped somebody, or even if it's just doing it does something to my soul. Okay. And sometimes I think I think this might be just a cyclical effect, and that, we would spend a lot of time saying, oh, I have to, myself, I have to love myself, and I had to figure out all this stuff about myself. But I think that sometimes that may be the case, because you might feel better after you've helped somebody else. So, anyway, that's why I put this here. How does it make you feel when you are compassionate towards others? But we welcome any other comments.